Another well here that just replicated those results could confirm up to 400 million barrels of recoverable resource just from one initial prospect. The cost of a well like this onshore is $20 million. The cost of a well like this offshore is over 100.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Robert Bose. He is the CEO of Sintana Energy. And Robert, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Very well, Steve. Very well, Steve. Thank you for having me back. It's nice to see you too.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we had a chance to chat. And I know there's been a lot of news happening within your sector and obviously what you're doing with the company as well. So that'd be a good opportunity to get an update on things. And first off, a really interesting news release out about PEL 79 and an extension that you were granted. So maybe bring everyone up to date on where you're at.
Sure, yeah. So your audience may recall PEL 79 is our shallow water license. It's located in forward of licenses that are variously operated by Rhino Resources, Shell, and just south of the block that's operated by Galp, which is home to the discoveries at Mopane. We stepped into this license through an investment in a company called Giraffe a couple of years ago, and we were pleased to announce last week that the joint venture had received an extension of that license for another year, which will allow us to have the opportunity that we need to really move that license forward. From a timing perspective, it's absolutely fantastic. Has been recently some very exciting activity around this license. Again, I referred to a private company called Rhino Resources. They've drilled a couple of wells on one of the offsetting blocks, Sagittarius and Capricorn. Capricorn was a very significant oil discovery. They flowed that well at over 11,000 barrels a day, and they expect to do more drilling on that block just beside PEL 79 over the coming quarters. I think they've actually hired a rig and will be moving to drill at least one new well on their block, again, offsetting ours shortly. In addition to that, BW that operates Kudu, which sits just north and west of PEL 79, is going to be doing some exploration drilling. So this is a really interesting block, Steve. I think for a long time, people thought the shallow water blocks were largely gas prone and not particularly attractive. And as a result of a lot of this progress, initially on the east side of Mopane together with Rhino and hopefully BW. This could get really exciting quite quickly. And, the overall progress in Namibia remains very good and there's a lot of interest. So getting the extension to provide the time frame to actually exploit all of these dynamics was fantastic. And we're expecting some really exciting things from PEL 79 over the coming quarters.
Okay, I want to ask you about Angola as well, because I know you had some news of that recently, but just because you mentioned Galp, I think it's prudent to talk about what they're doing as well, because they've had some news out that really affects sort of that particular area that you're talking about.
For sure. And again, your audience may recall, we regularly visit on PEL 83, which is operated by Galp. It is, right at the heart of the Orange Basin and home to the discoveries at Mopane, which continue to be sort of estimated to include, 10 billion barrels of original oil in place equivalent. Just an enormous world scale discovery. They have been going through various phases of partnership discussions over the past couple of years and having culminated a very successful exploration and appraisal campaign earlier this year, really kind of, step charged that process. In their quarterly update on Monday, they announced that they had received multiple non-binding expressions of interest from credible large-scale operators. They are looking for a super major partner to step in, take over operatorship, and really kind of lead the next phase, which includes the development at Mopane. This is an opportunity for the likes of Shell, Total, Chevron, Exxon, and Petrobras to step into one of the most exciting discoveries globally in many decades. Your audience may recall we have through our Namibian affiliate, a 10% carried interest in that project. And so its read through is absolutely critical for us and provides one of the most exciting catalysts, certainly in our portfolio. And we think out there in the public markets as well. So it's going to be, again, a very interesting time for that license as we look out over the next few quarters. The Galp CEO confirmed an expectation that they would be in a position to be talking about a new partner by the end of the year. And so that's a couple quarters on the horizon. So again, a lot of very exciting activity expected from Pell 83.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. Very interesting. Now let's talk about Angola. You had a news release out about stepping into Angola. Just to talk a bit about the portfolio itself.
Sure. So we announced, I think it was actually just a couple weeks after we spoke last time in early May, Steve, that
Yeah.
we had made a country entry into Angola. Specifically, Santana acquired a 5% working interest in an onshore block indirectly, together in partnership with an AIM-listed company called Corcel. The block is called Con 16. The interesting thing about that situation is, to summarize, it's kind of an offshore prize with an onshore cost structure. In Angola, onshore, the geology is very similar to what we find in offshore Brazil as well as in offshore Angola. So, very significant kind of salt formations that give rise to very prolific working petroleum systems. A well historically had been drilled into Con 16. It proved working petroleum systems both at post salt and pre salt intervals. Another well here that just replicated those results could confirm up to 400 million barrels of recoverable resource just from one initial prospect. The cost of a well like this onshore is $20 million. The cost of a well like this offshore is over 100. And so, in terms
Wow.
of the potential for a really significant outcome with a really attractive sort of cost framework, it was an opportunity for Santana to do what it has always done, which is expose a modest amount of capital to a potentially very large outcome in a really interesting and emerging geography. Angola has become one of the most active M&A markets and home to a lot of emerging activity, both onshore and offshore. So we were really excited to be able to continue our strategy, enter into a new country, partner with Corcel that had just been hitting the cover off the ball in terms of their corporate progress. And Angola's just on the other side of the border from Namibia. So it's in the neighborhood, if you will, but provides us with a
Right.
really interesting additional new exposure for the portfolio. And again, we expect a lot of activity on Con 16 going into the fall.
Wow, it's going to be a very busy one for sure. Fantastic update, Robert. I really appreciate your time. Thanks very much for updating us on where you're at. And again, we'll talk very soon, okay?
Sounds great, Steve. Thanks again for having me back. It was great to see you.
All right, Robert Bose, the CEO of Santana Energy.